I'm Laura Biarohanga Businge, and you're welcome to the Insta Poetry Mic Show. So, the show today is called Battles of the Mind, and I'll be getting a little bit into what it's about, and of course, we'll be hearing some performances from two very talented young ladies. And yeah, you're just going to be amazed by the talent here on the show tonight or today. So I'm going to ask Afroetry to just introduce herself and just tell us a little bit about your story with poetry and also what your full name is and your stage name as well.
Okay. Hi, Laura. I hope you're able to hear me. So, my name is Caroline Achen Miriam. My stage name is Afroetry. My story with poetry isn't much actually. I just want to wrap it up in an affair between the page and the stage because I write a lot and I also perform. And currently I manage Echo Minds Poets, 7 poets, female, dedicated to taking our poetry to the stage, our stories, and all that. So that's my story about poetry.
All right, thank you so much, Afroetry. I think we're having connection issues with JoJo, so when she does come, then I will talk to her as well when her connection stabilizes. So, all right. So, Afroetry, nice to meet you. I can't wait to hear about your poetry today. So, Battles of the Mind is what we're talking about today here on the show. And Battle of the Mind specifically is about, we had said that it will be about COVID times, that is Battle of the Mind during COVID-19, but I think I will try and be a little bit more broad in how we deal with the battles of the mind today. Jojo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Can you please introduce yourself and tell us briefly about your backstory with poetry?
I started poetry in high school, and it was because I had seen people performing. So I gained the love from seeing beautiful performances of people, and that's when I decided that I also wanted to do poetry because I felt like it was such a strong way that they had put their words together, and seeing the emotions reach out to people with just the simple words that they have put together inspired me to also start writing and performing. But at first I used to be more of a performer than a writer because I don't know, I just had the love for the stage more than the love for being behind the scenes. So most times I used to perform people's poetry. Then I realized that, okay, I'm also going to need to start doing my own works. Yeah.
All right, that's impressive. It shows that you're quite experienced at this. And we'll be hearing a lot of, or a little bit of your talent and your art today. So during this period of the coronavirus hitting the entire world and Uganda not being excluded, we've been having a lot of personal stories coming out about people feeling, trapped, feeling anxious, some even talking about depression, and it's for so many reasons. Economically, the world is struggling. People are losing their jobs. People don't know how they're going to eat tomorrow, let alone today. And then also we find many people talking about abuse and how it's affecting them, and so many other aspects of it. So we have decided to hit on mental health. I don't really want to call it mental health because I know there's a lot of stigma around that term today, and also many people don't even quite understand it. So without us getting an explanation of this, we we will just assume that everybody has a fair understanding of what it is, and this is being portrayed in the poetry on the show today. So I just wanted to ask you guys, during COVID times, maybe I'll start with the poetry. During COVID times, have you felt that it's important for you to express your art based on how you're feeling? And when I say how you're feeling, I mean any negative emotions. Does your art help? Are you even expressing yourself through your poetry? Poetry, please, can you unmute? Okay, as Poetry is trying to unmute, let me ask Jojo the same question. How has your art helped you when it comes to dealing with any negative emotions that you might have during this lockdown, quarantine, COVID-19 time?
For me, I feel like it has been able to keep me effective. For me, I feel like it has been able to keep me effective as a person. It has enabled me to express myself, because the moment I am in a mood and I feel like I'm not going to be able to fully explain it to someone else, then I'm able to write it down and put it in a poetry format. You get a poem, sorry. So I feel like it has still been relevant for me, because I personally I'm such an emotional person. That's the honest truth. It's something I can't hide from someone if at all I interacted with them. It's something someone definitely sees in me when they see me. And me being able to express myself even when there is no one has been something that is very important. It has helped me protect my state of mind. And in that way, I have had a healthy, I can't say healthy mental health, but my mental health has been protected. And I believe with my words, I've been able to reach out to people, because words are strong. They are strong. So you could say something like, I love you and I care about you, to someone who is quarantined, and they will still be able to feel that care that you are sending out to them, the love that you are sending out to them. And in that case, they may not even feel alone anymore. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I think definitely being expressive is exactly what a genre of art like poetry is about, and it definitely does help that you're able to do that. Let's get into the show. Let's get into it. What is the name of your first poem?
My first poem is called We Are Brave. Oh, actually the name is Brave, but it's basically centered around being brave, all of us being brave in different ways.
All right, we'd like to hear it.
Okay. So, let me begin. Brave. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Brave. We are all brave, just not the same kind of brave. More like the beauty system, where we are all beautiful but don't possess the same kind of beauty, as this differs from perspective to perspective and from person to person, but just never the same. We are all brave. And it's not because we are able to breathe harder on some days, but because we are able to handle matters, taking crap from others, deal with it in a way someone else would never be able to if they were in that same exact place. We are all brave. Because there have been days when we didn't think we would make it through it, but here we are, smiling and being cheerful. Exactly resisting and making it happen, letting go of yesterday's anger and grudges, forgetting the possession of our past disabilities, cutting down limits and boundaries, believing that today and now is our chance to try and make it a yes, a mark of a gainer, made it. Y'all haters can keep yelling, talking and disbelieving. We are all brave and strong and beautiful. Not because we are able to put down pillars like Samson or able to fight a battle against 5,000 soldiers. We are all brave because we have been able to take in and deal with crap others wouldn't have been able to if they were in our place. We have been put down by many people in our lives, but here we are, still staying true to who we really are. You are brave. Poem.
Thank you. Wow. Thanks, Jojo, for that. I want to ask, why do you think that it's so important for you to encourage people to be brave? Do you feel that we're in a world dealing with people having no courage? What inspired you?
I feel like we are in a world that likes to compare everyone with everyone. If we're going through something, then okay, let me give an example. The poor want to compare the lifestyle with the rich. How are people being affected in this way, in this situation? Are they being affected the same way? And someone who is rich may be able to be judged as someone who is like living an easy lifestyle in this situation, in this pandemic, and someone who is poor is having a hard time. But that may be different because someone who is rich may be like quarantining alone and they're going through a very tough time, mental health, right? They are feeling so lonely. They are probably having so many problems that they're thinking about. Their perspective about themselves is like really a bad one. But then someone who is omontua wansi, let me say, could be having like the confidence that they need and the hope that they need. But you see, comparing your troubles with another person's is never going to make your situation any better. It's just that you have to appreciate where you are and the strength that you have gathered to get to where you are. Not everyone is ever fully going to understand a situation that you're going through, but you sitting back and understanding it because you are then going through it. So you are then going to fully know the pain that you are going through. So you sitting back and understanding that helps a lot. It enables you to move on, to push through. But comparing yourself always keeps you in the same place because you keep drawing back and saying, oh, I'm not doing this right. And before you know it, you want to do it like someone else. So I felt like it was important to tell people out there that you are brave, despite the fact that you're not going through the same exact problem everyone else is going through.
Oh, thank you for that. And I think it's something that is definitely needed during this period. Many people are losing the confidence that they have or may have mastered through their lives to know exactly how to handle this time when everybody is not really certain how to go through this period. When you've talked about how your poetry helps you, express yourself, would you suggest that it's a good thing or it's the best thing when someone feels incapable of letting their emotions out to write? Do you think writing is an outlet for everybody?
Do I think what?
Do you think that writing poetry is an outlet for everybody? Like anybody could write poetry when they're feeling sad, anxious, stressed?
I believe it is because speaking out is like the first step to running out of a situation. It's like the first step to breaking chains off you. And that's why we have prayer. Even prayer, people either write or speak or say what they have to. And I believe poetry is a good outlet for emotions. It's a good way to express yourself, to get yourself out of a situation that is so hard for someone else to understand. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much for that, Jojo. I'd like to ask Afroetri, but I don't think she's back with us yet. Just for a few seconds. Afroetri, are you with us?
No, I don't think so.
Yes? Okay, fine. All right, so it looks like Jojo, it's just you and I for now.
Yeah.
Let me ask you to do. Let me ask you, what is your second poem?
My second poem is the Lord's Prayer. I named it the Lord's Prayer because I wrote it in form of a prayer, so I just felt like that would be the most appropriate title for it.
All right, we'd love to hear it.
Okay. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, I took a look in the mirror and I saw nothing but a ragged reflection. A mess that was beyond reconstruction, a torn-apart soul that sold for what it thought was a lifetime sort of attraction, a temptation that took away every part of me that always sold for your attention. Notifications that reminded me of who I was supposed to seek first began to come last. The guys came first, their perspective and thoughts meant so much. Their attention was what I began to seek first. You were my mirror no more. You were at the back of me, now my plan B or C. You were placed in positions I never thought you'd fall at any one point in my life. You were my truth, my word, my reflection from the start. You were who I chose to ride or die. You were who I chose to ride or die with, but now you're someone who I just want to dine with and get down with when I'm down on my knees and crying for little company. Your word was my drug, but now I found another cigar on the ground. Another tequila for the night. Prayer was a daily act, but now one for the girls that love you more than I did before I turned my back to your word and my front to the world. Your whispers began to sound like some judgmental sort of gossip. To the worship, quit that relationship, it's not saucy. The dress makes you look so phony. You're wonderfully made, so you need no reason to dress like sexy. All this holy word began to sound like holy crap. These lyrics they write began to sound like unnecessary dessert. The way I dressed, what I ate, drank, sniffed, or sang, there was no problem with that, but I was getting broken. Deep within, I was getting more empty. My body and soul were flexing. This testing was getting me wasted and infested. I knew I was never interested, but my spirit was weak. Initially not in it as much as my body needed these sniffs. I was getting addicted. I'm not changed and I'm no holy ship. But this broken me comes before you on these broken knees. I know the Lord's Prayer to be one of the greatest taught more so to those with no idea of getting back from their worst sins. So I'm gonna say this. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy forgiveness fall upon my heart and restore my life. Delete my name from the requests of those that wanted to give up. And may your will be done as it is in heaven. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours forever. And that's it.
Oh, wow. It's such an amazing poem. Wow, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions on the poem. From what I've understood, it's kind of like a psalm. You know, the Psalms in the Bible are somehow like a cry out for help. Well, some of them are cry out for help, just telling God about the frustrations. And I guess it's a similar format with your poem. Cry out for help, hoping that they'll be delivered, and then, you know, finally resigning to just dealing with, you know, being in God's arms and Him handling them. In your poem, I picked up a few things like addiction, peer pressure, and of course, you know, just frustration. But then the thing that stood out for me most is the conflict. The things that you feel that you want, and there are things that you feel you must get, but you're being told, your spirit is telling you that you're not allowed to get them. Am I right to saying that?
You are.
So, I just wanted to hear a little bit about that. The conflict. I want this, but I can't have it. I can't want this. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about why that battle of the mind or spirit or heart is so important for you to bring out in the poem?
This poem is centered around realizing things about us. I'm pretty sure that people who are going through quarantine, which is all of us, the people who are going through quarantine, I'm very sure some of us have come to understand. We've come to notice some of our behaviors have come out to the light. Some of our addictions have come out to the light because of being unable to reach them. For example, if you are like accessing, what can I say, like alcohol for the ones who like to drink. So if at all you go to a point that you cannot access it anymore because maybe your basic needs need the money more than the alcohol, you have to put the money to that. So people have come to like understand that they have been doing badly in this field, or because of this or because of that. And this poem helps them, is like a realization that, okay, this is what was going on in my life, and yet I need to like turn away from it. So the conflict comes from the conflict between wanting to like have these things and keep relying on them to function well, but then also needing to like get back to the old you that didn't need to depend on anything to make something work, to be effective. So that's what it is. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that, Jojo. I'll be asking you a couple more questions. Poetry, can you hear me? I just want to make sure that there's smooth communication on both sides. Please unmute.
Okay, I can hear you.
Awesome. Glad to have you back. So I just want to, let's get into it. What is your first poem? What's the name of your first poem? I think she's gone. Poetry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So what is your first poem?
My Mother's Depression.
All right, I'll ask you to.
Okay. My Mother's Depression. I inherited my mother's depression on the night of the blood moon. Broken pots and shredded pieces of kitenge littered the old swamp. The naming ceremony was swift. Branded on the chest, I wore the mark of struggle that Mama blatantly dismissed. Bore the anguish that always left marred on the front paw. I wear my mother's depression like sexy lingerie, eyebrows drawn in a skull, party lips that could saunter a hiss, parched at the end of the bed. I'm a hawk in training, waiting on Waraji, tainted breaths, and Siberian arms, sportsman cigarettes, dabbed lips, and rubber smeared skin accumulated from wavering women. A disrespectful tongue and a rough language, scoffing words from my bone. Fist too fast to start a street fight. Raging emotions, unfiltered thoughts, take the beating Mama endured. My mother's depression snuggles with ghosts from my battered conscience and invites the little girl to play quicken on the street. slices my thighs on the altar of deception as a sacrificial lamb, entombs love in the catacombs of paranoia, and leaves relics behind. Jeers at the wind as millet dries on the veranda, calls out the sun in protest as the day drags and hours start to create tension between her thighs. I inherited my mother's depression on the day that I decided I wanted a man like my father. Okay, that's the poem.
Wow. Your diction is so rich. You have a very rich way of expressing emotion, and I'm so grateful that I'm so honored to the audience to that. So Afroetry, based on your poem, let me see if I'm right. You're talking about how the persona actually inherited from mother's depression. So I guess it's important for us to note that sometimes depression can come from generation to generation, and it's something I don't think many people talk about. Sometimes maybe it's medical, passed through the DNA, I don't know. But it's very clear what you're trying to say. Could you just speak a little bit more about why it's so important for you to talk about how the persona literally had a transfer from a mother's depression going on to her, living that life, and then it's affecting a man that she meets, just like the way her mother met her father?
I've lost the audio again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you hear what I asked?
I've lost the audio again.
Did I ask? The Afroetry, did you hear what I asked? I'm not really sure what to do. I'm going to type the question. If I could just have a moment. Hello? Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Laura, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Afroetry, can you hear me? I've sent a message. Hopefully that can restart the combo. Okay. Elijah, I hope this part will be edited out. Elijah, do you think we should keep going? Do you think I should keep asking Jojo questions, or we wait for poetry to
I don't know. You can take it anywhere you see it fit. Yes, some parts will be edited out.
Okay, let me just keep asking Jojo some questions. Just
Yes, but also I've told Carol that you are texting you are texting her, so she'll read out the questions and answer, because we can hear her. It's just that now I don't see her.
Yeah.
So you guys continue talking. Let me ask her to do some things.
Okay, let me continue until she comes back. Let me ask Jojo another question. So Jojo, I was reading an article on bbc.com. I'm just going to read a little bit of what the article said, and then I'll ask you a question based on that. So this article is based on how poetry is kind of linked to mental health issues. And this is what it says. It says, depression, madness, and insanity are themes which have run throughout the history of poetry. So the incidence of mood disorders, suicide, and institutionalization, it was 20 times higher among major British and Irish poets between 1600 and 1800. And then, in other words, poets are 20 times more likely to end up in an asylum than the general population. So here is my question. Basically, people who are artistic, let's say specifically poets, are known to struggle a lot with mental illness, and like much more than normal people. I should say normal people. But basically, it's because of this. I wanted to ask what you feel about the correlation of mental health problems or mental health illness to poetry, specifically depression and anxiety. Do you feel, I just want to talk a little bit about it, like, do you feel that people, when you're a poet, it's automatic that you have to deal with anxiety and depression, for instance?
To an extent, I feel like it's automatic, because I do not know I have not met any poets before. Poets who are not emotional. By the time someone sits down to compile those words and put them in a strategic format that is going to bring an effect, is going to put an effect on someone who listens to the piece, the person is emotional. Like, you've seen those poets who are able to recite a poem that is not written by them in the best way possible, and you even think that they are actually like the original owners of the poem. So I feel like, to an extent, these people are most likely to go through. It's not a must, because you could actually be someone who is strong and knows how to handle their emotions and so on. But in most cases, yes, people who are poets are bound to go through those stages of depression and anxiety. Yeah.
Thank you so much for submitting that. I completely agree. Afrochi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. The question I wanted to ask was based on the poem that you performed about my mother's depression. I think it's clear that you're talking about the transfer of the problems the persona's mother faced in dealing with, her mental illness, if I should call it that, and then it now being transferred onto her daughter, the persona, and then this has had an impact on her relationship. We see how she, struggles a lot, especially with her relationship, I think, with a man, similar to the relationship her mother had with her father. So my question is, what are you trying to say in the poem? What are you trying to say? Let's start with that.
Okay, in the poem, I'm trying to relate like a woman's depression to her mother's depression, like transferring of pain. Like, for instance, a mother's experience being inevitably passed on to the daughter, but it's not like it's planned. It's like she somehow is following in the mother's footsteps, like taking on her pain in a different way. That's why I'm trying to correlate in the poem, the mother and the daughter, how she's dealing with hers, and also the relationship between the daughter and the mother, somehow in the poem.
Thank you. I think it needs to be talked about more. So many people struggling with anxiety, some issues even as severe as schizophrenia or bipolar, based on something that happened in a generation above, before them, or their background, and they don't even know. So I think it's important that that's brought out, and then experts can debate about it, but I think it's important for us to understand that. I'm going to ask you to perform your second poem. What is it called?
Oh, my second poem, it's about the conflict of mental health, the different stages. I like to put it in stages. Like a mental penitentiary.
Okay, cool. Can we hear the poem?
Okay. Trapped in a mental penitentiary without parole. I stroll around this dim-lit cell with nothing but my fears chained around my neck. My mistakes pursue me like a comet. Pain and disappointment churn my insides. I feel like a ticking time bomb. The world dims on this horizon while the blues sink in. The burst of reality stings like a bee. Life feels like lying in a casket of abandoned dreams. Loneliness hurts when you're sleeping on the wrong side of 3 a.m. with reality hovering mid-air like a hummingbird. Lost in a poetry monologue, I isolate myself on the world stage and take the speedboat to overflowing emotions, drown in the sea of depression, while the media glamorizes my pain in print and society mocks and taunts my image with labels. They treat me as someone who contracted coronavirus. Emotions are quarantined. Woman, suck it up. The impeding attack on my consciousness cuts through my brain with scalpels and drains me like a sieve. Frigid emptiness, darkness feels more homely. No one seems to understand. The silence haunts. The world is static. Everything seems to be falling apart. Walking on a tight financial rope. Accumulated bills and debts choke me. Love feels like purgatory. The sacrifice doesn't yield freedom. Frozen in the freezer of indecision, I feel conflicted. Compartmentalized. I switch through different personas with my identity wrapped around my sleeve. Classed as insane. Another forged birth certificate. The stigma got judgmental society, believing that I am just seeking attention. Diagnosis of pain is scattered like grain. I'm just weak and incapable of dealing with the pressures of the world. So I wear a mask and hide my pain. Walk around with a stone face just to appeal to the world's brazen imperfections. Anxious, conflicted, stressed, pressed, depressed. That's the point.
Wow. Where to begin? Wow. What are you trying to communicate with your poem?
Okay, I'm trying to take a journey through someone's battle with mental illness, the perception of society, the stigma, and also how the person feels isolated and how they deal with their pain. The last part is actually mostly suicide. Like, they feel no one cares, so they're taking it in their own hands. So that's what I'm trying to communicate in the poem.
Wow, I don't even know what else to ask you, but so many things stood out for me. I don't know if Jojo wants to say something about it, but I feel that I like the line about something about no one seems to understand. I think it's really amazing that you brought that out, because really I feel that there's so many cries for help that people ignore simply because they do not understand. And you talked about different personas. I don't know if I misunderstood the line. I started thinking about people who literally have different personalities, which I know is probably another part of one of the mental health illnesses. You talked a bit about stigma as well, which I found, goes into the whole thing about people not understang. What inspired you to write it this way, from this angle?
Yeah, okay. It's also based on the reality I've been seeing around me. Different people dealing with pain. They feel no one cares about them. They try to communicate, and they keep telling them, "Jacoba Bulonji, Guma," those things. So I try to put down the stages of what someone is feeling at that point, to the point where they feel no one is coming to rescue them. So the inspiration is mostly based on the different realities I've seen. Some poets actually have inevitably, succumbed to the illness, suicide, and others are still dealing with it. So that poem, the background of that poem came from that. So I'm trying to put all of that within the different stages.
Right. So when you went there, I'd asked a question to Jojo based on something I read and just perhaps before, but they say that people who are melancholic in nature, so people who are melancholic are usually introverted, they're deep thinkers, maybe they're very emotional, usually artistic. These people are more prone to mood swings or being anxious. And they're also, like I said, very artistic. Do you think that mental health can enhance the artistic talent of a poet? That sounds like I'm trying to be positive, but
it can.
I'm curious.
It can. One thing we need to know is that there is no situation that is permanent, And there's nothing that should stop us from being who we want to be or doing what we want to do. There should be nothing to stand in the way. As long as you have the power to change that, then you're able to. I feel like writing and reciting poetry is, but generally, like, poetry is not something that you critically have to know so well before you start doing it. It is something that just comes out as part of you, as part of expressing yourself. Even the introverts, even the introverted people, those people have words to say. They have emotions to pass on. They have a message to pass on to people. They have, not emotions to pass on. They have emotions to express. They feel. So they might be people of few words or people of selective crowds, but in the end they still have something to say. So they are not prohibited. They don't stand a disadvantage of being good poets. Yeah.
Okay. I see. I get it. What about your poetry? Do you think that poetry is best expressed when someone feels there's a darkness in them or they feel really low?
Yeah, I think so. Even though there is no limitation to expression when it comes to pain, but usually poetry gives a face to our struggles, our pain, and also a name to what we are feeling, our emotions. So poetry has been known to have that therapeutical, touch to it. Yeah, so I agree on that.
All right. Awesome, thank you. We're coming to the end of this show. I did get we did see a message from Elijah when we're talking about how poetry is usually emotive. He says not all poetry is emotive. Some poetry is intellectual, it's to engage the intellect of the person, and I actually agree with him on that. But speaking about how poetry, I personally think most people, maybe I'm wrong, most people are impacted by poems that are emotive in nature. I think, and maybe you guys can agree or disagree, based on what you're saying, I've understood that yes, usually people who struggle with anxiety, depression, or other battles of the mind find that they can express themselves and how they're feeling through poetry, which can actually be therapeutic. That's the way I've sort of understood it. You guys are both very good with your words. You're amazingly talented. Where can we find your poetry? All right, Jojo, where can we find you?
I usually put my poetry up on my Instagram page at Joystick Arts, like Joystick, JOSTIC_ATS, Joystick Arts, and also my Facebook page, Jojo Asimwe, and my YouTube channel, Jojo Asimwe, because when I'm studying in China, it's very difficult for me to perform in person because those people do not fully understand English. So I have to first learn the Chinese language really well, and then I begin writing in Chinese and performing for them. But as for now, most of my work is just online, or I go live in some situations. Yeah.
Thank you. Afroetry, how do we get you?
Okay, you can get me on Facebook under Afroetry, Caroline Afroetry MA. That's where I post most of my poetry. Then on Instagram, Afroetry C, and on Twitter, Afroetry C. I don't use Instagram so much, but I pop in once in a while, but mostly Facebook though. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for impacting people with your words.
And I must say that it would be an easy way to get feedback. Okay, not feedback, but to be notified if at all they subscribed to my YouTube channel. Then it would be very easy for them to be notified and know, oh, Jojo has posted something new on her channel, you could check it out. So I ask girl to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you will always get interesting information, interesting videos, more vlogs, and so many others.
Thank you so much, Jojo. Thank you. Your words have been so powerful. Thank you, poetry. You communicate a way I can never even express myself. I am so incredibly honored to have heard your poetry firsthand, both of you. Poetry, I hope you, just like Jojo, get on YouTube, because you've got to get your poetry out there, definitely. I'd just like to say thank you to the Lantern Meet Poets and the Lantern Meet Foundation for being able to give a platform to poets like Poetry and Jojo so that they can express themselves. Thank you so much. And yeah, till next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.